As global talks open in Azerbaijan aimed at combating a potentially catastrophic climate change, how will a second Trump presidency affect the outcome? Russia and Ukraine exchanged the largest number of drone attacks since the war began. And Hezbollah has been all but defeated, claims Israel's new defense minister. But both sides continue to exchange strikes and rocket fire.
Morning, our headlines at 6 o'clock. President-elect Donald Trump has reportedly spoken to Russian leader Vladimir Putin, urging him not to escalate the war in Ukraine.
Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is to mark Armistice Day in France, where he's also expected to discuss the conflict in Ukraine with European leaders.
Also this morning, a charity warns that failing to prevent, diagnose and treat lung diseases, including asthma and COPD, is silently suffocating the NHS. The pop star Rita Ora has paid an emotional tribute to Liam Payne as she hosted this year's MTV Europe Music Awards in Manchester, nearly a month after the star's death. The pair collaborated on the single For You in 2018. The night also saw Taylor Swift become the first person to win Best Artist 3 times. The Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch will appear at the Post Office inquiry today. She's expected to be questioned about her decision to sack the former chairman of the Post Office, Henry Staunton, when she was business secretary.
Let's have a look at this morning's newspapers. Starting with The Telegraph today, they're reporting that Sir Keir Starmer and the French President Emmanuel Macron will hold talks on whether Joe Biden could be persuaded to give Ukraine permission to fire Storm Shadow missiles into Russia. The paper describes the meeting as a last-ditch attempt to stop Donald Trump's efforts to scale back US support for Ukraine.
The Times and several other papers today carrying this image of the Princess of Wales at the cenotaph on Sunday as she returns to public duties after undergoing cancer treatment earlier this year.
And The Guardian reports that the government is likely to offer a financial boost to hospices amid fears that many are at risk of closure following the increase in employers' national insurance and higher wage bills.
The family of a man who died after he was attacked outside a nightclub in 2021 say they've been given hope after criminal investigations are to be reopened. 42-year-old Ricardo Holness was rushed to King's College Hospital, where he remained on life support until he died a month later. Last week, a coroner ruled he had been unlawfully killed, which his sister says is a step nearer to closure.
We now feel like we're being believed, that what I said from the very start of when this first happened is that I knew my brother isn't an aggressor. He's not an aggressive person. It's not in his nature.
Plans for a rapid bus link between 2 South London Elizabeth Line stations have moved forward, as has been confirmed by Bexley Council. The route would link Thamesmead to Elizabeth Line services in Woolwich Town Centre and Abbey Wood. The proposed scheme is set to be consulted on early next year. And work has started on the creation of a new 100-hectare woodland near the site of the proposed Lower Thames crossing. Local communities were invited along to plant trees on Saturday at Hole Farm, which is at the northern end of the route linking Essex to Kent via a tunnel under the Thames. In the future, the saplings should turn into a 100-hectare multi-purpose woodland, which is expected to open next summer.
The Archbishop of Canterbury comes under increasing pressure to quit. Justin Welby is accused of being part of a cover-up of a prolific child sex abuser. Allegations against John Smythe were reported to Welby, among others, but he was allowed to escape justice. A senior bishop says Welby must go.
I think, sadly, his position's untenable, so I think he should resign.
Strengthening alliances, Sir Keir Starmer is the first British leader invited to France for Armistice Day since Sir Winston Churchill. A referee is suspended after apparently making derogatory comments about the Liverpool team and its former manager. And oceans apart, how a discovery about the moons of Uranus means they could possibly support life.
The insurance provider Direct Line Group is to cut around 550 jobs as part of efforts to save £50 million next year. It said the cuts were due to a fall in the number of customers. The firm hasn't said which jobs are at risk. It employs around 9,000 staff. The celebrity chef Jamie Oliver has withdrawn his latest children's book from sale after Indigenous communities in Australia accuse it of stereotyping. The story featured an Aboriginal girl who could talk to animals and plants. Some First Nations leaders have called the book offensive. Jamie Oliver has apologised. The toy maker Mattel said it deeply regrets mistakenly listing the address of a pornography website on the packaging for children's dolls. The company recently released singing dolls inspired by the new film of the hit musical Wicked, but some fans spotted that a web address on the box was for an explicit site and not for the movie. After the Lionesses' recent successes, fans were asked by Madame Tussauds to vote for which player should be honoured with a waxwork, and topping the table was England's goalkeeper Mary Earps, making her the first female footballer to have a wax figure at the famous London Museum.
Wales's tallest mountain, often referred to as Snowdon, will continue to be called solely by its Welsh name, Eroifa. The move, which came into effect in 2022, has been deemed a success by increasing the Welsh identity associated with the park. The area, Snowdonia, will continue to be officially called Erori. And family-run Glasgow joke and magic shop, which claims to be the oldest in the world, has closed its doors after 138 years. Tam Shepherd's Trick Shop, which has been run by the same family since 1886, will only operate online. Its building is going to be part of a redevelopment into student flats.
Twice as likely to reoffend, we hear how an increasing number of ex-prisoners are homeless and living on the capital streets.
There is an influx of people who have been released from prison, and some of them released too early. If someone leaves prison and doesn't have a safe space to go to, what are you expecting them to do?
If they don't have somewhere to stay, they will reoffend, and that is the ongoing cycle we've got to stop.
We have a special report for you, also tonight.
I was shocked in what I'm seeing in myself. Is that true, or is it like a movie?
We speak to a stallholder who saw the moment customers were attacked by a man with a knife at a South London market. Plus, a tribute to the fallen on Armistice Day. One of the capital's most famous landmarks, the Tower of London, puts on a special display of remembrance. And we meet the girls from Havering, who will be performing live to the nation as part of the Children in Need choir. A music teacher has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for a series of child sex offences over 40 years. David Pickthall's crimes were committed between 1980 and 2021 at Brentwood in Essex and East London. He was made an MBE in 2015 for his services to education and charity. Police believe there may be many more victims. Drivers using the Dartford crossing were wrongly handed fines totalling more than £4 million in the last year. Figures obtained by the PA News Agency show that National Highways cancelled more than 59,000 penalty charge notices in that time. That's up from around 3,500 the previous year. National Highways has apologised and urged affected drivers to get in touch. The former British Army soldier Daniel Khalif has pleaded guilty to escaping from Wandsworth Prison last year. He'd originally pleaded not guilty to the charge and is in the middle of giving evidence at his trial. He's also accused of passing secret information to agents of Iran and perpetrating a bomb hoax. He denies all other charges. And work has started on the creation of new 100-hectare woodland near the site of the proposed Lower Thames crossing. Local communities were invited along to plant trees over the weekend at Hole Farm near Brentwood, which is at the northern end of the route linking Essex to Kent via a tunnel under the Thames. The new woodland is due to open to the public next year.